Summer break over, the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship is back in action. The second half of the season begins right here. We're at Croft in North Yorkshire. The sun is shining after a bit of heavy rain at lunchtime, but the circuit is drying all the while. It's getting faster and around this 2.1 mile circuit. It's going to be a dramatic qualifying session, that is for certain. Again, we've got our Quick Six format, whittling down the 20 entry through the two groups in Q1 to 12 cars into Q2, and then that final 6 that will determine the pointy end of the grid. And they're all coming here chasing Jake Hill, the championship leader. He's had a great season so far with 5 victories. Tom Ingram, though, is only 4 points back. Then you've got Ash Sutton, who had, by his standards, a weekend to forget at Alton Park. It is Dan Camish 4th ahead of Josh Cook, and then Colin Turkington, with Aaron Taylor-Smith 7th and Adam Morgan in 8th. So the qualifying session coming up very shortly. Out on track at the moment, cars from Porsche Carrera Cup GB. We're running slightly behind schedule here at Croft after 1 or 2 dramas and a few clear-up operations have had to go on earlier on in the day in some of the other activities. Across free practice, Tom Ingram, Josh Cook, the fastest 2 drivers. There's a trend there, at least, in terms of front-wheel drive, so we'll start to see when we get into the bones of qualifying whether it's going to be front or rear-wheel drive. It used to be a very rear-wheel drive-based circuit, this, but over time, perhaps that has just started to change a little bit, and we'll find out in due course who is going to come out on top. So Jake Hill, as I say, comes here as the championship leader, and he comes here very much as the man in form as well. Could a pole position be heading his way? Well, we'll find out very shortly. A little earlier, though, after the 2 free practice sessions, Tim Harvey and Louise Goodman had their traditional, as it now is, pre-qualifying stroll down the pit lane, and the first person on their hit list was Jake Hill.
We are finally back to racing after the summer break, and with the man at the moment, Jake Hill, 5 wins from the last 9 races. You're in a bit of a roll at the moment, aren't you?
It's been a really nice end to the first half of the season, Lou. You know, I've absolutely loved it. You know, the last 3 rounds have been fantastic. The car's been on form. We're working incredibly well as a team together, and yeah, hopefully we can continue it.
So championship leader coming into Croft, which of course means you've got 1 second of hybrid for qualifying this afternoon. How much of a difference is that making?
Yeah, a bit for sure. I mean, especially when my teammates have got quite a large amount of hybrid, and you know we can see on the data just how much it's worth. So I really wish I did have it, but you know that's what happens when you're leading the championship. You know, I mean it's that's the whole point of the championship, try and even it up a little bit, and it's definitely doing its job. You know, it's tricky. I just did FP2 with it there, and it's nothing, you know. I mean, by the time you press it, it's basically over. Yeah. So, yeah, it's not going to be worth hardly anything at all. But we just got to, you know, have a nice, consistent run of it. Hopefully, it stays wet for qualifying because we've been really good in the wet, and we can then, you know, stick it somewhere at the front for tomorrow.
Jake, you weren't by any chance using that 1 second of hybrid when you got the car completely crossed up coming out the final corner?
Harsh, Tim.
Craig wanted me to go to the patch on slicks, and it was very much raining. And I thought, well, you know, now's a perfect time to get my drifts in. So, yeah, you can call me the SVG of Great Britain. Just lighten the rears up and having some fun. Yeah,
styling it out, Aussie V8 style. But look, back to Croft and this weekend. Slight change in tyres from last year. Last year we ran all 3 compounds. This year we've got 2 soft races and 1 hard. How do you think that changes your strategy?
To be honest, Tim, I mean, if all goes well, it'll be exactly the same as we had at Alton Park, which obviously worked out pretty well. Obviously, the rule we've got this year for touring cars is everyone in the top 10 has to then run the hardest compound for the following race. So unless someone takes a bit of a gamble and manages to stick in the top 10 with a hard tyre and then go soft, you know, that's the other way you can do it. But
or do a Josh Cook and come from the back.
Yeah, or do a Josh Cook. And Josh timed it to perfection. You know, I mean, all the others, I mean, I think there was 3 of us that managed to stay ahead of all of the rest of the soft tyre runners, myself included. So you can make it work, the opposite strategy. But at the same time, I think if we play our cards right, we'll be in the top 10 quite happily for race 1, hard for race 2, and then back to the soft for race 3.
But that's perfect for you, really, isn't it? Because it's like all the cherries are lining on the fruit machine, because it's going to be a hot day tomorrow. Yeah. The BM loves the soft tyres, so 2 races and on BMW favourite track, that's really good for you.
It should. The recipe's there, you know, to try and get a good result for all of us. I mean, you know, Colin's extremely good around this circuit. He's got a lot of hybrid, so from my side, I'm hoping he can take some points away from Tom and Ash, and obviously I can stay on the back of Tom and Ash at the same time. So I'm not expecting a miracle from this one, to be honest. You know, I've struggled here the last couple of years. I don't know why. It just hasn't really gelled with me. But then we're going to some of my favourite tracks: Knockhill, Silverstone, Donington, Brands. So yeah, this one we might have to take a bit of a hit, but I will come back.
Well, I mean, this is one you shouldn't really have that attitude, in the sense that you actually should be thinking, I've got to maximise it here. This is all the things aligning well. Does that pressure put on yourself, and by being championship leader, how are you dealing with that?
No, I'm totally open to it. You know, I really am. I'm not coming here thinking, oh, it's been bad the last couple of times I've been here. You know, we're going to struggle. No, the car felt amazing in FP2. I'm really, really happy with it. The best BMW I've had here for the last 2 years that I've been driving for them. And, you know, I'm feeling on top of the world. I really am. But there's the lack of hybrid. You know, we're going to struggle. For whatever reason, the front-wheel drive cars seem to just have the edge on us rear-wheel drive cars in qualifying. Yeah. I don't know why. They can just deliver more. There's more of a deficit between, you know, their race pace and their qualifying pace, whereas for us we stay quite consistent. So qualifying is a bit of a struggle, especially when I haven't got much hybrid, but we do come back in the race.
We will see you out there for qualifying later.
Best
Have a
of
good
luck.
one.
Cheers, guys.
We're going to go for a bit of a wander down the pit lane and catch up, because there's a couple of guys right down at the far end of the pit lane that I'd like to have a word with. But I'm just thinking, as we go past Tom Tilton's garage here, we've got a couple of familiar names racing in. We've got some of the historic cars here, which, contrary to popular opinion, you don't actually remember from the first time around, the pre-66
Yeah, the
cars,
pre-66s. Somebody said to me, Tim, you were around the first time they raced, weren't they? Well, I was born, but I don't remember them racing.
Max Chilton, Tom's brother, is racing in those, as is Sam Tordoff.
Yeah.
It's going to be so nice to see Sam Tordoff back here at a touring car race.
Yeah, and I won't spoil it, but he's on pole. He's got his big Ford Falcon out there and stretching the legs round here. He's put it on pole, and they are great cars to watch, and they're a great addition to the TOCA support programme.
Very much looking forward to seeing those. Right, here's a couple of guys I wanted to have a word with. Dive on in. Mikey, come on in the middle, and Aaron. Two guys, you jump in here, Aaron, as well. I've got to start with talking about round 3, Alton Park. What a race that was. I mean, Mikey, let's start with you. So close to that win, but nonetheless, to lead home a 2-3, first ever double podium for the team was quite something, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a mega race, mega result for the team. I was going into that race not really knowing what to expect. I didn't think that with such a small reverse grid and the title fighters being so close behind me that I would actually hold on to the lead for as long as I did, and then every lap that went by I had a little bit more and more belief that we could maybe get the job done, but Jake was just a little bit too quick for us at the end there.
What was it like for you being back on the podium, but also standing alongside a teammate? That does make it special, doesn't it? Although you probably would have liked the positions reversed, but hey ho.
No, I feel like Jake ruined our summer break. To be like, he's won how many races this year? He needs to chill out. Like, just let us have this glory. But no, it was good. Like, I feel like I said earlier, Mikey drove out of his skin in that race, and like, if I had the pace to put it to him at the start, I would have, but he was very quick. So I had to be a bit strategic with Jake, because there was such a big gaggle that I didn't want to go from 2nd to 17th. So it probably allowed Mikey to have a bit of breathing space, which it's still, like, to get us both on the podium is something that I'm immensely proud of. Like, I can't take credit for anything that Mikey did. He drove very well. He would have been there without me. But it was nice just to put it to the big guns and actually get back on the outright podium. As you said, a double podium for this team is a credit to what Evans Halshaw have given us, and it's nice to be in that mix.
Just thoughts on this weekend, really. How do you see coming into Croft? Have you done some work on the car? Have you made it any better? What are your hopes and expectations this weekend, briefly?
I mean, I think it's just little refinements really coming from Alton Park. You know, we got the car in such a nice window there that we've kind of carried on from where we left off to an extent, just with a few little tweaks to try and improve our car in certain areas. So that's what's nice when you've got the car that's working in the window. You're not trying to make drastic changes to find chunks of time. You know, you're just trying to make little adjustments to make the car feel a little bit better to drive, so you can commit to the lap a little bit more without the worry of going off or doing track limits or something. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. And yeah, I think the track is similar here to Alton Park in some of its corners. So hopefully, if the car was good there, it should be good here as well.
Best of luck.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We look forward to seeing what you can do out there in qualifying with it. See you guys later.
Thank you.
Good luck, guys.
See you later.
So the two Evans Halshaw with Power Max Racing Astras will no doubt be part of this battle. In terms of who is where, well, Mikey Doble is going to be in Group 1. He was 13th in the earlier session, and in Group 2 is going to be Aaron Taylor-Smith, who was 12th earlier on in the day. So Josh Cook, Tom Chilton, Tom Ingram, they were the drivers that topped FP2, and fourth quickest, Tim, Chris Smiley for Restart Racing. I know it's only free practice, but that's given the team a bit of a boost to know that they were up there. I know, again, it was a slightly rain-affected session. It got wet towards the end, so you had to get your laps in early, but they've been chipping away and making some progress.
Yeah, had a good result up at Alton Park, but unfortunately nowadays we can't take too much out of the times from free practice 1 and 2 because they have one set of medium carryover tyres which they were predominantly using, saving their softs for qualifying and race. So some people haven't even run on the soft tyre yet, whereas others have chosen to do so. And of course they can use as much hybrid as they want.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't give us a very clear picture, unfortunately, free practice 1 and 2. Having said that, makes qualifying more unpredictable and exciting.
Well, it does indeed. You've just seen the groups. So Group 1, which is going to kick us off, Josh Cook, Tom Ingram, Dan Rowbottom, Rob Huff, Jake Hill, Ash Sutton, Mikey Doble, Aidan Moffat, Darryl DeLeon, Nick Halstead. Those are the 10 that will be in that first group. There's confirmation with Tom Chilton, Chris Smiley, Colin Turkington, Adam Morgan, Andrew Watson, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Ronan Pearson, Dan Camish, Scott Sumpton, Sam Osborne in the second group. And remember, it is 10 minutes per group, and we are whittling away the slowest 4.
Yeah, and I mean, I always look at this and think, right, which group would you prefer to be in? Which is not that I want to diss anybody, but you know, I probably think Group 1 is the harder group to be in. There are getting in that top 6 could be those in 6th, 7th, 8th could be very tight.
Yeah. There are the Restart Racing guys. Scott Sumpton in the foreground in the white overalls, and then look behind and look left. Chris Smiley with his overalls down by his waist. Of course, we don't have the right number of garages, if you like, for the number of cars in the championship even now, and therefore some have to camp out and need to present themselves at the start of the session in the assembly area, even if they're not presenting themselves in the pit lane. Look up the pit straight from the drone. That last qualifying session that we've just had, Carrera Cup GB, has been on a road that was very, very wet at lunchtime, absolutely hooned it down. It has got drier and drier and drier. It is still drying, but outside it's really hot again.
Yeah, it's very muggy, humid. At least having dried out now, we haven't got the worry about which tyres to put on. They'll definitely all be on slicks, because in the short period of time we have in each session, there isn't actually time to change tyres in the session and get back out. So they would have had to choose the tyre that they were going out on and pretty much stick with it. So now we're all on slicks, I think, at the moment. And fortunately, the clouds seem to have dissipated, at least the darker ones.
Indeed so. Ash Sutton, needing points from the weekend, is going to be one of those drivers on track in this first group. Josh Cook, winner at Alton Park. We've had 8 different winners now, and 3 of the 4 Toyota drivers have been amongst them. There is another of the season's winners, Rob Huff, good to go in the works liveried car. The Toyota Gazoo Racing UK entered Corolla.
Shaking his head about something. He's in chatting with his engineer. Something's not right. Could be something minor like mirrors or something, but who knows. But yeah, so Ash Sutton will enjoy the luxury of 5 seconds of hybrid use in this qualifying session. I think his thumb on the button will get worn out, never having had that much.
I wonder what to do with it all. This for qualifying is what people have got. 1 second a lap for Jake Hill, 3 seconds a lap for Tom Ingram, 5 seconds a lap for Ash Sutton, and 7 for Dan Camish. Josh Cook with 9 and 11 for Colin Turkington, and then because they're tied on points, Adam Morgan and Aaron Taylor-Smith have 13 apiece. So that is how the hybrid time is going to be allowed per lap, and anybody outside that top 8 in the championship then will have the maximum 15 seconds. This is going to be very busy, that is for sure. Very shortly the cars will be pulled backwards onto the fast lane, released down the pit road. Matt Neal in the background there, you can see talking. He's, as ever, keeping an interest in the Restart Racing Cupras, but also looking after Max Chilton's Lotus Cortina in the pre-66 saloon race that we'll have on track later on after this. But you'll see in the ITV4 broadcast tomorrow, 2 races they have those cars tomorrow.
Yeah, white sidewall tyres, all soft tyres for qualifying. So we're looking for those who perhaps have a lot of hybrid but aren't out, so they're not in the top 8 of the championship. People like Rowbottom with 15 seconds of hybrid should be very, very quick, as the 15 seconds over 1 second, for example, of Jake Hill is probably worth as much as nearly 9/10 of a second. It's an awful lot.
So the cars make their way down the pit lane. We this year are based at Pit Out, which is why it's getting jolly noisy in the background as 10 touring cars go past our window. Now out onto the circuit, headed by number 1 then of Ash Sutton, coming out of the chicane and trying to get a little bit of warmth into tyres, but then we anticipate perhaps that pit stop, the tyre cross. Jake Hill, no doubt, will carry on in the rear-wheel drive BMW. There he is, third on the road as they come down towards Tower. Well, we're getting used to this format now. But one thing we keep having to remind ourselves even is how quickly 10 minutes rattles by.
And especially on a long circuit like this, you don't get many laps. So an out lap, a flying lap and an in lap is going to take you 7-8 minutes almost. You know, so you're really only, if by the time you've crossed the tyres, you're not getting many flying laps, are you?
No, indeed not. Advantage BMW, and you can see the drivers, they're not only trying to get some warmth into the tyres they can, but also look for a bit of clear track space so they can weave around without getting in anybody else's way. Mikey Doble going through, Darrell De Leon there in the background, but anticipate quite a few to head to the pit lane, other than Jake Hill, who's already trying to press on and start a flying lap next time around. That's Sutton then, who comes out of the hairpin and will bail for the pit lane and start a trend, no doubt.
Yeah, I'd be amazed if any of the front-wheel drive cars, as I'm saying, that one does.
That's Rowbottom,
doesn't come in straight away. That's Rowbottom. So he's taking a slightly gentler approach to warming his tyres. It's all about getting the balance right. If the balance works for you, though, getting a bit more heat into what will be the rear tyres when they're crossed over, then that's how you deliver your quick lap.
Rowbottom and Sutton both operated out of the same garage. Now, whether it's to avoid double stacking, I rather doubt, but you're right, they have, in Rowbottom's case, had that slightly more conservative start-up lap. Jake Hill, though, is the one to watch because he's going to be the benchmark time setter.
He will, and the soft tyres on a warm day on a BMW do come in a little bit quicker. Their bogey race will be the race they have to do on the hard tyre.
Yeah.
2 races on soft, 1 on hard, as opposed to last year, as I said before, in the build-up where they had 1 of each set of tyres to use. But the soft tyre does work well on the BMW.
In fact, the only one, I think, of note that came in was Ash Sutton, because there you've got Aidan Moffat and Josh Cook, who have both stayed out. So possibly the Hyundai's in as well, but the majority of front-wheel drive cars seemingly ventured across the timing line on the track rather than through the pit lane. We have got Rob Huff about to rejoin the session, but Jake Hill comes up towards the complex. It's going to be a time, but I don't think it's been the ultimately committed lap, and he's really, really wide there going into the hairpin. So it will offer you a guide, but we know that people are going to go much, much quicker. Dan Rowbottom in the background is coming into the pit lane. So through goes Jake Hill. He does a 1:27.2, and they were doing 1:21s this morning. So very much a start-up lap rather than a proper flying lap.
Yeah, 21.4 is the qualifying lap record, which was Colin Turkington. So we'll see if they can get near that. They've been breaking the qualifying records everywhere so far this year, so apart from when the weather's intervened, so I'd be surprised if they don't.
Right, so this now becomes a proper Jake Hill Banzai lap, doesn't it? He's got to get in that top 6. Remember, Q1 is about not being slow rather than being about totally rapid, but he has done, as you would expect, because he's the only one to attack the lap, a purple sector, an absolute best sector 1. And he's got traffic up the road ahead of him as well. Rob Huff, I think that is, who's just come out of the pit lane. So Jake Hill down through Barcroft, through Sunny in, Sunny out, and then the cars will accelerate up the short straight. Huffy gets well out of the way, as you would anticipate from a World Touring Car champion. And so Jake Hill then with 2 purples. He's the only person to do a proper flying lap. That is why he's going purple. Comes up towards the complex. But the question is whether this lap is going to be good enough to keep him right up there to the end, which is now just over 5 minutes away.
So I'll be interested to know where Jake uses his 1 second, whether it's here, coming out of the chicane, out of the hairpin, sorry, slowest corner on the track, or through the chicane and down the back straight, or out of Sunny out, where you have the slightly uphill section coming back to the complex.
So Jake Hill's lap was a 1:21.808. So that's better than they did in FP1 and fractionally slower than FP2. Ash Sutton, in the meantime, has gone quicker than Hill in the first sector now. He's done an absolute best. So Sutton in the flying forward, coming then now down through Barcroft, through Sunny. This looks good.
That car looks really handling in a very Ash Sutton way. He did the one warm-up lap. He likes the car a little bit looser on the rear, so he had slightly less temperature in the rear when he started this lap, but he's certainly absolutely on it now. So fastest first and second sector. Yeah, 2 absolute bests then, 2 purples for Ash Sutton as he comes out of the hairpin, pulls the pin now, accelerating up towards the line with a 121.8 to beat, and as he breaks the beam, it's going to be a 21.3, so very nearly half a second better, 4/10 plus, quicker than anybody else, Ash Sutton. And you've got only Sutton and Hill with a lap, and we've only got 4 minutes to go. Yeah, great on board as he comes through the chicane. Look at the concentration, pulling 5th gear literally as he comes out of that chicane. He's still in the corner when he's pulling 5th gear. He's only got 1 more gear to go. He's looking down at his delta, whether he's up or down on his previous fastest lap, which was a new qualifying lap record. He is quicker.
He is indeed. He's done another absolute best then. Rob Huff's done a 22.4 to be third. You're on board with Sutton then as he goes through the Jim Clark S's, through Barcroft. Mega commitment at this part of the racetrack.
Huge commitment, breaking over the curb on the inside as you try and settle the car. It's really easy to lose it coming into Sunny in, but the important thing is to get a good exit. This is the uphill section on your way back to the complex.
Mikey Doble has gone third. Nick Halstead has gone 5th. Ingram is 6th. No time yet, Robottom nor Moffat. We have a time being offered up by Daryl De Leon to go 4th. Ash Sutton's got 1 corner to go and a 121.3 to beat as he accelerates up towards the line. He's aiming at his own. Dan Robottom has done the absolute best first sector. Sutton crosses the line. He's down a little bit in the middle of that lap, and as he crosses the line, it's a 121.4, fractionally slower. Right, Robottom, absolute best sector 1.
Yeah, that extra lap suiting him. He would fastest of anybody in the first sector, second sector. He's got lots of purples flashing up. We'll see what his time is. Only a little bit further to go, 2 more corners, but you can easily blow the lap at this last section. You can do the first section ever so fast, bit of understeer coming through that last corner, but it's very easy to blow the lap right at the end, especially when you know on your data that you're quicker. And he does do it at 21.0. Wow.
3/10 up on everybody else. Now we need a good Ingram lap to come, and Tom Ingram is heading to the timing line. So Robottom, Sutton, Josh Cook goes 3rd, Hill down to 4th, Ingram goes 2nd. Right, that means Moffat is out, De Leon is out, Huff is out, Halstead is out. The tar smoke settling down at Clairvaux. The session has got less than 2 minutes to go.
Well, remember, the only objective of this session is to get into the top 6, so I think Robo could definitely park the car up and save some tyres for the future sessions to come and the races tomorrow, because that time will definitely...
No, he can't, because he's had it taken off him, because he's had it removed for track limits. Dan Robottom loses the lap, and that therefore means that he drops to 10th. He does not have a lap time to rely on. He can't park it, he's got to go again.
He's only got 1 minute 30 on the clock, and a lap takes 1 minute 20, so they'll be frantically on the radio telling him to regroup, get himself some space on the track. He's going to have 1 more lap to do it. And the places that the track limits are being monitored are on turn 2 and the exit of Barcroft.
Right, Rob Huff needs to get himself back into that top 6 as well as the Toyota comes out of the hairpin, up towards the timing line, goes towards the beam now. Is he going to be good enough to be in the 6? Yes, he is. Goes 6th fastest, 121.7. That then was briefly 6th. Robottom has just got through to go 4th. So Huff was in, and now he's out again. Assuming Robottom's lap doesn't disappear, Ingram, Cook, Sutton, Robottom, Hill, Doble go through. Robottom's done it again. Lap disallowed. 2 in a row.
So this is his last lap. He's on the back straight, so his engineer will be shouting at him, "You've exceeded track limits again. Be careful, be careful." He's on this lap. Is the last chance he's got to do it.
But it may well be that if he's exceeding the track limits round turns 1 and 2, by the time that message comes, it's too late.
This is coming up to the section which is being monitored for track limits. On the exit of this corner here, well, I saw the left-hand side of the car dip down. I don't know whether it went wide or not, but that's where the bit of a slide there, but that's where the judge of fact is stationed to catch people out.
Right, so Robottom needs to get this car into the top 6. At the moment, he is out. So is Aidan Moffat, along with Nick Halstead and Daryl De Leon. Rob Huff just got himself into the top 6. The flag is out. So Rowbottom now coming up to the complex. Huff's up the road ahead of him. And even if it's not going to be fastest, as long as it's in the top 6 and the lap survives for Rowbottom, then it will be good enough. Let's see, he breaks the beam, and the one lap that might well count is only good enough for 7th. He misses out.
He's blown it. What a chop, because he'd used the best of his tyres.
Yeah.
That was the problem. He was trying to do it on his 4th flying lap, and he used the best of his tyres. He will be absolutely kicking himself.
Daryl De Leon is at the moment out, but did improve in the first sector of the lap here in the Duckham's Racing with Bartacard Cupra. Again, understeer evident at the hairpin, but he comes up towards the line. So a good sector 1, a little bit of time lost in sector 2, accelerates up towards the line, and Daryl De Leon stays 8th. Tom Ingram, in the end, was the fastest. We were looking at others trying to get in without talking about those that were quickest. Tom Ingram, 1:21.133 to be the fastest.
Yeah, so a tenth slower than Rowbottom went before he had the lap disallowed, showing that Rowbottom did have the pace to get through. He was my pick as a potential pole man, but certainly no longer. And he's unfortunately got no one to blame but himself. So Ingram, Cook, Sutton, Hill. Sutton another excellent job, and Ingram, in fairness, they both looked very quick this weekend. But remember, they've got very little hybrid. Hill as well getting through. Doble and Huff just making that 6th place.
So it is going to be a very disappointed, to say the least, very angry Dan Rowbottom, who, along with Daryl De Leon and yet again Aidan Moffat, who has really struggled this year. I think only once has he got himself out of the first group of qualifying, Aidan Moffat, and again he misses out on an opportunity to get to Q2. When I asked him at Alton Park what he thinks about the new qualifying format, he said, well, it's great, because I don't do very much work. I haven't got out of Q1 other than once this year, so I don't do very much. I'm only getting 10 minutes work. His tongue was firmly in his cheek, you can imagine, but I'm afraid, again, he's missed out. So Aidan Moffat's Toyota doesn't go through, and it could have been a different story for Huff had Rowbottom not had his travails.
Yeah, very unhappy camp, the Moffat camp, despite the results they've had this year. They're not enjoying their racing this year.
No.
We've seen some outbursts, haven't we, from Aidan towards the team, and it's just not a happy camp.
So there the Vauxhalls get set as Tom Ingram, Josh Cook, Ash Sutton, Jake Hill, Mikey Doble, Rob Huff are confirmed as the 6 that progress. Dan Rowbottom, Daryl De Leon, Aidan Moffat, Nick Halstead confirmed as those who sit tight in the pit lane and grumble and complain or talk about track limits and how awful they are. But I'm afraid to say that Rowbottom 2 laps in a row transgressed and the lap time taken away from him. So Q2 will have those fastest 6 to be joined by the fastest 6 out of the next group, and that, when the cars hit the track, is going to be Tom Chilton, Chris Smiley, Colin Turkington, Adam Morgan, Andrew Watson, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Ronan Pearson, Dan Camish, Scott Sumpton and Sam Osborne. There you can see Aaron Taylor-Smith's car ready to be pushed back, and the green flag is waved, so we are in business.
And all the engineers, if they've been switched on, will be telling their drivers, you've got to watch track limits, because there's no point in going quick, using your tyres, doing all the hard work and then blowing it for track limits. They don't have sensors here at Croft like they do at MSV circuits, like Brands or Stetson or Alton, but they do have judges of fact. But there's only 2 places on the track you've actually got to be careful. So it's worth lifting a fraction to stay within the bounds of the track limits rather than waste the lap.
And it's not everybody that we've seen going over those track limits, is it? As there you see the restart racing cars good to go. It's not been a constant stream of drivers losing lap times.
No, it hasn't been many at all, but the drivers would argue that's because the judge of fact is looking down his pen and paper rather than the track limit time.
That is a fair argument.
And it is, but then the argument about it is that if you run wide, that's the risk you take. They don't guarantee to catch everybody. They just say it's up to you if you want to take the risk. This is the corner. Oh, we didn't stay on board. I was going to explain where the track limits was from on board, but no problem. We're on board with Colin Turkington warming his tyres up.
And Colin Turkington, the king of Croft, multiple winner here, will as ever be a man to watch. Andrew Watson's absolutely on the limit on this out lap, comes rather larily into view, but gets away with that. So clock ticking on down, and there are the two Restart Racing Cupras then. Chris Smiley goes through shot, Scott Sumpton, TCR front runner last year. Chris Smiley, of course, since he left the BTCC, has been TCR UK champion, another touring car style category, but for a different spec of car, but back in the main game this year. Right, that's Turkington heading up towards the exit of the hairpin. He will stay out in the BMW. Behind him is Adam Morgan. And the BMWs then go through, and Sam Osborne has stayed out as well. Yeah. So the Ford was ahead of the BMs. There he is, Sam Osborne, who had dramas in FP2 earlier on in the day. Goes up now through Hawthorns.
Yeah, boost issue, I think it was, but easily fixed.
Yeah, Aidan Moffat had a brake issue at the start of FP1 early on in the day, lost some mileage, but sad to say, we've lost him. Let's see whether Sam Osborne can stay in this top 6 as well. Tom Chilton on track in the number 3 Hyundai. A rare race weekend where both the Chilton brothers are at the same event, because brother Max will be in the pre-66 touring car set. Aaron Taylor-Smith then back into the pit lane. And will be released shortly. Needs to crack on, of course, when he does go back out, because the clock ticks on down. 7 minutes, that's all we've got.
Well, Louise has managed to catch up with Dan Rowbottom in the pit lane, so let's hear what he's got to say.
Dan, the guys that were just saying, well, what have you got to say about that? I'm not quite sure what to say to you, so you tell us what happened. I can see you shaking your head as you're chatting to your engineer.
Well, you know, it's just track limit regulation. Ultimately, it's me that's driving it, so I feel like a bit of a pillock. But, you know, the first lap I felt was really clean. I don't know where it was. We've not had a radio report of what turn it was, so I can't really self-criticise. The only place I think we were marginal was maybe out the back, but I've been doing the same line all day and not getting pinged for it. So I don't know. The second push lap, I definitely did track limits. I just made a mistake and dropped the wheel. But yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? It's touring car racing in 2024, so just have at it, you know.
On the plus side, you've got a fast car, so you can be making your way through the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first lap we did would have put us P1 in that session anyway. So the car feels great. I think we're driving it well. We just got to, we'll get a break one day.
You will. Bad luck.
Thank you.
So Dan Rowbottom forcing a smile as there is Chris Smiley going through. Right, Colin Turkington is going to be the first driver to really offer up a proper lap time in this part of the session.
Yeah, as we'd expect, BMW's out front, him and Morgan. We'll see what time they offer up. We certainly know what a competitive time is now, despite that patch of water you just saw. This is where the track limits problem is, on the exit of the Jim Clark S's, running wide over that white line.
Great shot that, isn't it, as the cars sort of bounce into view. So Turkington through, Sunny in. This is Sunny out, next right. Gets back onto the power and accelerates up towards us. He's coming towards the end of that middle sector. So Colin Turkington will do, of course, an absolute best there, because he's the only driver on a proper push lap. Although Dan Camish on a start-up lap has done the absolute best third sector. But Turkington is going to offer the benchmark time.
Nice late apex to get the power on that rear-wheel drive car. One of the reasons why this has been considered a rear-wheel drive car track over the years, a 22.7, so not as quick as we saw in session 1, but it was only his first flying lap. He'll be building on that now on this second lap. Winner, of course, of the third race here last year, but it was Napa Ford's to the fore in the first 2 races. We'll see what tomorrow offers up in hot, dry race conditions.
Dan Camish looking rapid, personal best sector 1. This is his first flying lap then. Dan Camish heading up through Sunny. Home soil effectively for the Yorkshire-born driver coming into the complex. He's done an absolute best in the middle, although Andrew Watson has been quick in the first sector. He's done the absolute best there as well in number 11 Toyota. So let's get Camish across the line first. A 22.7 is the time to beat. Coming now up through the hairpin, back onto the power. So Camish looking to go top, looking to stay then in that top 6, breaks the beam, and the lap is quickest, 1:21.829. Then look for the Toyota. Andrew Watson has been good in sector 1, good in sector 2, and he's got to get himself into the high 21s. It's a 22.0.
Yeah, Dan Camish celebrating a new contract with Napa Racing UK, signed a new deal, multi-year deal, same as Sutton was announced a little while before.
Camish, lap time disallowed, track limits. So if you call Dan, track limits in a Napa Ford are a thing. So Dan Cameron's lost his lap now. That puts Turkington back to the top from Watson, Pearson and Morgan.
It can only be the exit of Jim Clark Esses. That's what we're looking at there. Now that was on the line. Sam Osborne behind. So many cars look like they drop a tyre over, but it's so difficult to judge to the human eye, isn't it?
Yeah. Right, Tom Chilton looking good now. Absolute best within the first sector. So Colin Turkington's 1:21.9 is the fastest time thus far. We still need a lap, of course, from Camish, Osborne and here Chilton, who looks as though he ought to go top at the end of this. The estimate is that he will. Remember that anything in the 1:21s is good at the minute, so Turkington's 21.9 is the lap time to beat. Here comes Chilton out of the hairpin, accelerates up towards the timing line, and he will break the beam with, hopefully, a time in the 21s. Is it going to be good enough? It is. 21.058, 6/10 up. Chilton goes top, Camish goes second.
That is a great time. That matches the time that Dan Rowbottom did that was disallowed at 21.0, quickest we've seen. Obviously, Chilton has the luxury of some hybrid. Turkington comes up to third with a 21.9, but 9/10, nearly a second away from Chilton's time.
Aaron Taylor-Smith yet to do a representative lap coming up towards the timing line. So this will be the first proper lap from Aaron. He's done personal best, of course, because it is that first proper flying lap. Adam Morgan goes fifth, Taylor-Smith goes fourth. That puts him in. Smiley goes sixth. So at the moment, those that are out are Morgan, Osborne, Pearson and Sumpton. Right, Aaron Taylor-Smith with 1 minute and 3/4, just over, comes through Hawthorne into the chicane now. So Adam Morgan there is the next one that really will have to push on. His last lap was a personal best, but not good enough to really stay in the top 6.
No, the good thing about the BMW is that it does have a slightly wider window in terms of number of laps where the tyre is still at its peak. The front-wheel drive cars obviously take more out their front tyres in qualifying, but this is it's a slightly different angle that camera shot. The cars can put their tyres on the curb, but no part of the tyre could go over the outside edge of the painted curb. It's a painted curb rather than an actual curb there, but really hard to judge because the entry to Jim Clark Esses is easily flat, but it tightens up on the exit, which is where you get the problem.
Well, the flag is imminent, and Adam Morgan to get into the top 6 is what we're looking at here. If he does, it's going to be at the expense of Chris Smiley. So Morgan now comes up through the hairpin, accelerates towards the line, and as he heads towards the beam, he's got to be in the 21s realistically, and Adam Morgan goes through, and it's a 23.0. He's out.
He's out. He's got one more lap. Maybe that was a bit of a build lap. It was quite a long way off, what do you think? But or he had some traffic, but that was a couple of seconds off. Scott Sumpton coming up to the line, slowest at the moment on a 23.1.
And Morgan's last lap has been taken off him anyway for track limit, so even if he had gone quicker, it wouldn't have mattered. That's Scott Sumpton then, who is 10th in his first year in the British Touring Car Championship, wheel lifting, the car looking a little bit darty going through Hawthorne. Adam Morgan, in the meantime, is down in the first sector, so I can't see any improvement coming.
Yeah, so that's probably maybe why he bailed a little bit, because you've track limits on the last lap, but yeah, it's a struggle.
Checker flag, he's out. Sam Osborne has just been through, but he's 8th. Dan Camish goes through and he's 2nd. He takes the flag. And Tom Chilton has already pitted, having been the fastest. So a really good lap, as you were saying at the time, by Tom Chilton.
Aaron Taylor-Smith getting a very good toe round this lap. In fact, he's caught Adam Morgan. He's actually through already, and Morgan's bailed. Morgan's bailed, so he's out of it. So I think that will be everybody. There's only Sumpton who hasn't taken the line, but he's slowest at the moment. Will he improve on this lap? He doesn't. So that's it. That's your 6 from this session. Tom Chilton, Dan Camish, Colin Turkington, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Andrew Watson and Chris Smiley making it through. Well done, Chris.
So we lose Morgan, Osborne, Pearson and Sumpton. This is why Scott Sumpton lost time, because he ran wide coming out of Sunny. Survived the moment, but that will have cost him dear. Shame that, because he was doing, in the first sector, a personal best, but Scott Sumpton just trips it over the curb and wastes some time. Darryl DeLee on there in the foreground. He's another one that we've lost out of the session. So now 12 cars we get set for Q2. This is where the road is going to get busier, and we'll have those cars heading to the circuit shortly after this very quick 5-minute break between parts. So out of Q1 Group 2, Tom Chilton, Dan Camish, Colin Turkington progress, as also do Aaron Taylor-Smith, Andrew Watson and Chris Smiley. And those that are bumped out, Adam Morgan, Sam Osborne, Ronan Pearson and Scott Sumpton. Ronan struggled a bit in these qualifying sessions. He's been a race winner this year, the BRDC Rising Star, but frustratingly, he gets dumped out of Croft qualifying. Right, so now the teams get set, ready for the second part of qualifying. 12 cars, 10 minutes once more. Slightly busier track, of course, this time around. And the PowerMax team there waiting for Aaron Taylor-Smith to arrive. Other teams, of course, now knowing that their cars are done for the session, frustratingly. So there, Rob Huff gets set to go, having made it through this time into Q2. And somebody who has gone well at Croft in the past, not only in his one touring car season, but also in the SEAT Championship. He was a winner in that back in 03, on his way to winning the championship. It was the inaugural meeting for the SEAT Cooper Championship at Croft in May of 03. And Colin Turkington there is another man to watch when we get this second part of qualifying underway. So drivers are set, and we await a green flag at the far end of the pit lane, although we've still got cars trickling into the pits. The last couple of cars just arriving now. But Tom Chilton, a really excellent effort that in that second group of Q1.
Yeah, that'll be the time that and the data that Ronan Pearson will be looking at to see where he could have potentially been quicker.
Indeed so.
A little bit of work been done on the Toyotas, trying to lose a bit of weight or redistribute the weight of the car. So the boot lid, I'm told, is a little bit lighter, and been some other work done on the cars.
They sound different as well this weekend. They've got more of a musical engine notes to my ears.
I hadn't noticed that, but your ear is more finely tuned, perhaps.
Right, let's hear from the star of Group 2. Tom Chilton did an absolutely mega lap. He can tell Louise all about it.
It was a mega lap, wasn't it? The guys had just said the star of Q2.
Oh, it's nice. It's getting there, isn't it, Louise? This is the fourth round in a row. We've been into, well, we're going to Q2 now, but we've been into Q3. The car is fast. It's really fast, and it's all down to the boys. They've worked so hard, and also my superstar engineer, Barry Plowman. It's so nice to have a good car under me. I'm really enjoying myself.
Where's the improvement? What are you feeling in the car that's that much better that you're able to get the better times out of it?
Honestly, it's better slow speed, medium speed, high speed, better under brakes, turn in mid-corner and X in traction, so everywhere. I've got to go.
Perfect, I'll leave you to it. Hopefully you can put that into good effect in the next session as well.
Well, there's a happy man, definitely, when your car's underneath you doing what you want it to do, and you don't feel like there's an area that is really costing you time. That's what your engineer will always say to you. Where are you losing the most? What's the area that needs to improve the most? And he's thoroughly enjoyed working with ex-Dynamics engineer Barry Plowman.
So there, Ash Sutton, Matt Neal in the background, in fact, towering over all the cars. Right there you have got Tom Chilton's Hyundai from Team Bristol Street Motors ready to go.
And the nice thing is, all he has to do is exactly what he did before.
Yes.
The team aren't asking him, and he isn't asking himself to find any time. No. So he's got no questions in his mind. He just needs to literally repeat what he did before. You know, a driver's temptation is always to brake later, get on the throttle earlier, carry more speed into the corner. And of course, that's when things can also go wrong. He's not chasing any more time. That time he did, if he could repeat it, I'm absolutely sure will get him into the final six.
Well, it's going to be a busier circuit. There are different people up against him this time. Some of those out of that earlier group that he didn't have to better in his group. But another intriguing session is underway then as Q2 blasts into life. 10 minutes is go. Remember, we're looking for 6 now from these 12 that are heading out onto the circuit. tyre briefly with Rob Huff. There he is, number 12 Toyota. As he goes through Clairvaux, drivers looking for a clear bit of track space as well, but expect those front-wheel drive cars at some early stage, if not at the end of the outlap, to come in for a tyre cross pretty early on. We have seen people trying to run it a little bit later, but ultimately they still have had to pit. So Huff on track, and as ever expect BMWs to offer up the times early on.
12 brand new soft compound tyres. The drivers are allocated for qualifying and the race, so there is the potential to run new in each of the sessions here in qualifying. The cars would then cross the tyres over if they're racing them, or use the rears rather than the fronts, or put the fronts on the back. So there's plenty of tyres available for today and the 2 races tomorrow on the soft tyre.
Mikey Doble through, Aaron Taylor-Smith through. Drivers, you can see, using lots of the road to try and get the warmth into the tyre as Andrew Watson heads towards you. This is Ash Sutton then, checking the mirror before he edges left and right to still warm up the tyres. He's just gone across the line. There he is. He's got Jake Hill behind him, but you can see staying out this time, not coming in for a tyre cross. Ash Sutton, he's trying to get the heat in on the road.
Yeah, he would have learnt from his first experience and probably thought where he could do it better. Remember, Rowbottom did 2 laps, didn't he? And then actually put the quickest time in before it was lost. So maybe he's learnt a little bit from the data. Ingram, however, is into cross tyres.
Indeed so. And as he then goes through the tyre cross process, he's not the only one in, I think, because also Rob Huff is in, Mikey Doble is in. So the pit lane is still pretty busy. Aaron Taylor-Smith arrives as well. So a really cramped pit lane here, even with only 20 cars. It still doesn't give you much room to work.
Yeah, how did we ever get 30 cars in the pit lane?
I do think, isn't it? Right, this is Sutton then, looking rapid as he comes down now towards Sunny. So this will be at the end of the first sort of flying lap. We know that he'll go quicker yet, but it will offer a bit of a guide, and the road will get busier around him.
Yeah, quite a bit slower than the quickest in the first section, because Hill's done a 26.3, and that was a 27.9. The fastest is now 26.8, so it can't have been a 26.3. That must have been a glitch on our timing screen.
Yeah, Turkington's done the absolute best, but that means very little at the minute as Sutton comes out of the hairpin, and this lap goes for the pit lane. So there's a bit more warmth in the tyres that he's got
A lot more.
to cross over.
Yeah, a lot more. He wants a lot of stability in that rear, clearly.
Yeah. Right, so Jake Hill goes through and does a 1:32.5. So very much a start-up lap. Plenty more to come out of the BMW with 6.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, that's 11 seconds off the ultimate pace, but this will be a lot closer. Through this, flicking it through the chicane there, left himself a little bit of room on the outside there that he could have carried a bit more speed onto the back straight. Remember, he's only got 1 second of hybrid to use. Hard braking for Tower. It's all about these corner exits, because you're flat from the exit of Tower all the way down to Sunny Inn.
Right, there is Colin Turkington then, who's done a 1:26.2 to be the fastest, and you're on board with him now. You see the concentration as he comes through Hawthorne. This is Jake Hill down at Sunny then. He's about to flick the car into the first element. Sunny in, and then the second apex of Sunny out, and then back onto the power. As he's doing that, Ash Sutton has just rejoined the session. And this is Jake Hill then, who has done on this lap a personal best and an absolute best. Andrew Watson's first sector is the absolute best within the session, but Jake Hill is coming into the complex there. The car maybe just looked a little bit sluggish through that first element. Comes out of the hairpin now, and now towards the timing line. Let's see what he can do then. The times should be around the low 21s, and Jake Hill does a 21.8 to go fastest. But Andrew Watson here, with full hybrid use, also looking very good indeed.
Yeah, full throttle on the car, and that's exactly what he'll have on under his right foot. The hybrid light flashing as he comes up to the line, and he goes second with a 21.8 also, just 8 thousandths slower than Hill.
Yeah, but if you think about the difference in hybrid, well, Josh Cook now goes quicker than them both, a 1:21.520, but by rights, Andrew Watson should have been much quicker, shouldn't he, given that he had 15 seconds a lap of hybrid. Josh Cook, though, briefly top, but he's had the lap time taken off him. So Jake Hill is quickest. Josh Cook's lap time disallowed for track limits.
Oh dear, we're seeing, it's always the fastest time we lose, isn't it? Strange that.
Here's Rob Huff
Not
then.
that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but it doesn't appear to be the fastest times that we get wrong.
Right, Huff gets through the traffic, coming up now towards the complex. So Hill, Watson, Turkington, Cook is the order of those that have done a time. Huff looking good, personal best, absolute best. Ash Sutton's just gone through, onto a flying lap now. What can Huffy offer up then? The World Touring Car Champion. 10 times a winner around the streets of Macau, comes towards the timing line, and the Toyota breaks the beam and does a 21.687. That's fastest, so Huff quickest.
Yeah, good lap that. That's a chunk quicker than he went as well in the first part of qualifying, so he's found some improvement. Good work, Huffy. Look at that concentrating face. That is an absolute picture of concentration. Quali lap from Turkington is usually a thing of absolute precision, isn't it?
It is indeed. And we also know, we've talked about this often enough over the years, Mikey Doble going third, that Colin Turkington used to be a slow burn in qualifying. Well, he can't afford to be anymore.
No.
He's got to deliver, and he is being able to deliver, because look at this, personal best, absolute best, sixth becomes fifth, because Rob Huff's lap has been taken off him, the track limit, and then quickest Colin Turkington when he goes over the line, 121.350. Jake Hill's had a lap time taken off him as well, so Turkington, Taylor Smith, Doble, Hill, Cook, Watson is the top six that will go through.
Yeah, so both did really bad news for the BMWs. Both BMWs, Hill and Turkington, losing their fastest lap. Great lap by, well, actually Turkington's still shown as fastest. Sutton goes second quickest. Great lap by Taylor Smith, third quickest at the moment.
Yeah, one lap we'd lost was Huff, the other was Hill. It was a Toyota and a BMW. Turkington then came across the line and went top, so he's good. Sutton second, Taylor Smith third, Smiley fourth, and then Huff goes back up to third, so he recovers. Camish is sixth. Chilton, who was so good in Q1 Group 2, is now down to eighth as Ingram goes fastest on a 121.121. Ingram, Turkington, Sutton, Huff, Taylor Smith, Smiley are the six that go through, but there are six very quick drivers that don't go through and need to do something about it, with Andrew Watson now being bumped down to slowest.
Once again, a great performance by Ingram in qualifying with only 3 seconds of hybrid use, and he's quickest at the moment, barely a tenth away from the fastest lap we've seen all weekend, so that's a really impressive.
Mikey Doble, lap time disallowed, track limits. This is Dan Camish, and seventh is Dan Cam. So he needs to find 57 thousandths to get himself ahead of Chris Smiley.
Yeah, and on this lap he's had a personal best in Sector 1, not a personal best in Sector 2, so all down to this last part of the track. And he's a little wide there, coming into the complex. Needs to hook it up really well round the final corner to find those fractions of a second that he needs to get into the top six.
He was down in the middle sector. Camish breaks the beam now. Sixth, 121.594. Huff behind him goes through. So Camish gets ahead of Smiley, puts him out of that quick six to go through, and the flag is about a minute away. As you look at Andrew Watson here, who is down in the 2 sectors. Where is Josh Cook? He's down to 9th, so it looks as though we are going to lose 2 more Toyotas unless they can pull something out of the bag in less than a minute.
Hill is just starting a lap. It'll be his last lap, and at the moment he's in 11th, so he's got to do it on this lap as Jake Hill.
Right, over the line comes Josh Cook. And what does he do on that lap? The answer is not an improvement. Andrew Watson goes through, not an improvement either. There is Camish, absolutely on the limit. Rob Huff going through behind him. There is Tom Chilton. Now Chilton only 8th. That's a bit of a surprise given what we saw earlier on.
Well, he hasn't done what I said, which was to repeat what he did in the first practice, in the first part of qualifying. Because at the moment his quickest lap is a 21.7, and he did a 21.0 in the one before. So he just needs to. He's not finding that same rhythm and balance, is he?
No, he's not. And he's got to get through traffic as he comes now towards the checkered flag. The session is at an end, so this is the end of Q2, and for Tom Chilton it is now or never. But look, yellow, slower in sectors 1 and 2, and that lap as he comes across the line is a 22.3. Chilton's out, only 8th fastest.
And Jake Hill doesn't have any personal best sectors either.
Right, so Hill doesn't look like he's going to be an improver. In fact, there's nobody out there really, other than maybe Andrew Watson in the middle sector, who looks like they could improve. Jake Hill, rather, has gone across the line. 11th he ends up, so he's gone. So Ingram, Turkington, Sutton, Huff, Taylor Smith, Camish are the ones that go through. But Andrew Watson might just shuffle the order. He's just gone across the line, but no, it was a good middle sector, but nothing else, and he stays 12th and slowest. So that means that the drivers that will go through are Tom Ingram, Colin Turkington, Ash Sutton, Rob Huff, Aaron Taylor Smith, and then for 6th, Dan Camish. So 10 more minutes, the last 6 drivers to go through, and Tom Ingram quicker by 0.2 of a second at the moment than anybody else, but of course you wipe those times when you get to the next part. If you don't progress, that's the time you carry for your grid time. But as you go from Q1 to Q2, you lose your Q1 time. As you get towards Q3, whether it's slower or quicker than Q2, or the Q2 time becomes irrelevant. It's just a means to get you into that last group. So for those last 6 drivers, it's the time they're about to do that will count.
Yeah, but what a great top 6 we've got there. Well done again, Aaron Taylor Smith getting through into Q3 in the Power Max Vauxhall. Great job. Two Napa racing cars of Camish and Sutton. Huffy, of course, through in the Toyota.
For the first time.
For the first time, yeah. Well done, Huffy. He's looking to start the second half this year in strong form. And, of course, Ingram. He's looking at Huffy, looking at the times, looking at his lap maybe. I think that's probably just looking at the TSL timing sheet to see where he is. Taking a few deep breaths and just composing himself for the one more mega lap.
So
looks like the tyre window, though, I was just going to say, is very small, even for the rear-wheel drive cars, because Hill just couldn't come back, even though he should have had life in his tyres. David, with some facts and figures.
He's going to offer you first up that Ash Sutton has been into Q3 in every session thus far, and not only Rob Huff, but also Aaron Taylor Smith into Q3 for the first time.
Good
yes,
stuff.
So we are. Right.
Any more factoids for us,
Oh,
David?
yeah, there'll be more to come.
Okay.
Yes, but I'm going to pepper them. I don't want you to peak too soon.
No, salt and pepper them, or just pepper them?
Just pepper them, yes.
Okay.
I don't want your faux interest to wane too soon.
Would you like to read out the results?
If that's all right with you. Tom Ingram is the quickest then in Q2 from Colin Turkington, and Ash Sutton, who, did you know, has been in Q3 now every time this year.
I told you that earlier.
Rob Huff, who's not been in Q3 before, he's 4th, and Aaron Taylor Smith makes it to Q3 for the first time as well. He's 5th, with Dan Camish 6th. Chris Smiley out. Tom Chilton, sadly, along with Josh Cook and Mikey Doble, also miss out. So too Jake Hill and Andrew Watson. So that is the order at the end of Q2. The bottom 6, we know their grid positions, but it's the top 6 that now have it all to fight for.
But I do think it's good to see Rob Huff and Aaron Taylor Smith in the top 6 for the first time. Let's get some serious comment. Louise is with Jake Hill in the pits.
I am, and I think that the frustration is written all over Jake's face. I mean, the irony was we were talking earlier on about the lack of hybrid. That wasn't what handicapped you, was it?
No, someone who can't see clearly, because I didn't do a foot wrong there. You know, I've actually absolutely done everything perfectly. You know, I've not put a foot wrong, not a single track limit all 3 sessions, and then somehow magically one's appeared. I haven't ever stepped the mark. I was literally perfect on my curbs every time. So I'm raging, to be honest, because I'd done the job. You know, I was P6, P7, which is cool. You know, I knew that's roughly what we were going to be able to get. Because it was tight, you know, it was tough, but we were pretty quick, you know. I mean, I was really happy with my pace. I'm as quick as Colin, and you know, quicker than Adam with no hybrid. So yeah, I'm really pleased with the car. The car's fantastic. The team have done an amazing job, but yeah, appalling decision by whoever's making it.
And not even anything, a decision that you can do anything about, is it? Because it's a judge of fact rather than having any sort of technology out there to say, yes, you're definitely over the line.
This is the problem, you know. This is why, you know, ideally all the tracks would have sensors or some sort of sensors at the key corners, but I'd love to know where they've pinged me, because I still have no idea. And yeah, I'm pretty annoyed, because in my eyes I really did nothing wrong, and I've not put a foot wrong so far.
Thanks, Jake.
No worries.
Yeah, Jake Hill not pulling any punches in all of that, is he? And you can understand the frustration, especially, and you made the point earlier on, no sensors here. It is down to somebody looking at the track and assessing it.
It's down to eyeballs, and he may have got it wrong. He might have got the wrong car number.
Yeah.
There's no way that you can review that situation and know that it's right. That's why the drivers actually accept sensors and cameras, because it is factual and you know. But a judge of fact is just using his eyeballs. He sees a car go wide, he writes it down on his notepad where two others might have gone wide as well. He might have written the wrong number down. There's no way you can review it. And this is professional motorsport. You know, Jake Hill is leading the championship. He's got a lot at stake here. So I understand his frustration.
Absolutely, and I know that it's expensive to put in the sensors like MSV have at their circuits, but there's got to be a better solution, surely, than just the human eye. Aaron Taylor-Smith, however, is on his way down the pit lane, green flag shown.
My argument has always been, if you can't enforce a rule fairly and consistently, then you don't have it. Because if you didn't have that limit there, it would still be the same for everybody. And whilst they would say, well, then you're not actually driving within the regulations because you're exceeding track limits, they're not actually enforcing that regulation at all the other corners around the track anyway. So why enforce it there?
Answers on a postcard, because it is very hard to argue with Tim's thought process on that. However, for the moment, we have all eyes on the times. We'll worry about any track limit infringements if they come. Rob Huff makes his way down the pit lane. The remaining Toyota. So remember, it is Sutton and Camish, Turkington and Ingram, Taylor-Smith and Huff that have gone through. And this is for the final 10 minutes.
Huffy leaving the pits last in a very leisurely manner, wasn't he?
That's all new to him, this, you know.
Is it?
Aaron Taylor-Smith just ahead of him, you see, thinking, oh, I've got to do some more work. Right, however, Ash Sutton, who knows exactly what he's doing here, because he's not yet missed out of a Q3, is going to be the first driver up towards the complex and may or may not bail from the pit lane. The evidence of Q1 and Q2 suggests he'll do another lap.
Yeah, it looked like that was the better feeling for him under the car with the tyre temperatures.
There he is then, into the complex. We haven't yet had a pole position out of him, but he comes up towards the timing line now, accelerates towards the pit. So he's going to break that trend with Q2, come in early. Colin Turkington then goes through. Dan Camish stays out. So one Napa Ford in, another Napa Racing Ford stays out on track. I think Tom Ingram is in and Aaron Taylor-Smith in as well. So those front-wheel drive cars have come in straight off at the end of the first lap.
What about Rob Huff?
Huff.
Did he come in?
No, he hasn't. He's not got to the complex yet, I don't think. And he has pitted now. He has come in now. So having gone out, as you said, rather in a leisurely fashion, it's been a leisurely in-lap, and just got to the team now. This is Turkington in the meantime, who was anything but leisurely.
Look at the camera, look at the curb on the exit. You just saw the painted curb. That's the point of conflict in this qualifying session, certainly for several drivers with track limits being enforced there.
So Colin Turkington on a start-up lap coming out of Sunny. Temperature's dropped a little bit of late as you see Tom Ingram going back out. Ash Sutton is behind him. Ingram grabs a gear at the end of the pit lane, accelerates out onto the circuit. Sutton does likewise. Pit out line is just in front of our window, so as the cars are leaving the pit lane, it suddenly becomes very noisy indeed, and Rob Huff is about to go past the window as Turkington is about to go over the timing line. Headlights on, that says, now I'm on a proper flying lap, get out of the way.
Yeah, and Rob Huff did a good job. He saw Turkington coming in his mirrors because the pit exit is right on the line and the braking point for turn one, and Rob slowed right down and stayed to the left to let Colin take his racing line and racing speed into turn one.
So this is Turkington's view.
Still weaving, actually, so this is still a build lap for Turkington.
Clear road ahead, but as he comes up towards Tower, another absolute best within the first sector. For what that means at the moment, it's towards the end where these absolute bests become more relevant. Here's Sutton then, and as he comes down to Sunny, this for Ash Sutton is an outlap, so it's not this one that's of interest, it's going to be the next one and the one after that.
But look how hard he pushes on that lap just to feel the car. you know, all his racing senses are telling him and feeling what that balance is in the car. And he can only do that by pushing it quite hard on the outlap before he starts his flyer, so that he knows exactly what he's got underneath him when he commits to the fast corners.
Right, you're looking at Ingram, but Turkington is on a flyer of a lap. Headlights on for Ingram now. That says, I am now on a proper qualifying effort. And behind you're going to have Ash Sutton. But this is Turkington to offer up a time. He did a 26.5 last time. He comes up towards the beam now. And as Colin Turkington goes through, it's a 24.9, so there's still a lot more to come out of the BMW.
So I'm surprised he didn't go for it on that lap, but he certainly will be this lap, otherwise he'll start not to the best of his cars. That car rotated beautifully. I know it bounced a little bit, it turned right and rotated fantastically. Quite soft setup on there, but it's gripping really well. This is on it, we'll get a first idea of the split. It's a 24.5, it's purple as you'd expect at the moment for that first sector.
But he's just taken that purple away from Ash Sutton, who is also here on a spectacular lap. So he's gone to a personal best because Turkington was quicker by 0.4. But Sutton also is trying hard. Here he is at Sunny. Comes up towards the second part of Sunny. We'll get him across the line. Then we'll worry about Turkington possibly to go even faster. Ingram is also building up nicely as well. So Sutton, who is predicted to go second, comes up to the complex now. Goes into the left and then into the right. Then there is the hairpin. And the time to beat is a 24.9 here as the Ford gets to the hairpin. Wheel lifting, Sutton to the line. Colin Turkington ought to go quicker behind him, looking at purples in sectors, but Sutton's first effort as he breaks the beam is a 24.9, which is okay, but not mega. Turkington, a 21.0. That's a proper lap. And look at that, purple, 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 all the way through the sectors. That works for Colin Turkington, and a perfect lap. He is quickest thus far.
That is a superb lap. That matches the best times we've seen any time during qualifying, and a really good setup and build up for Turkington over his 2 warm-up laps and then delivering that time.
Camish though, absolute best sector 1. You're riding here with Colin Turkington coming out of Tower. That's Camish then down at Sunny, and as he hops and skips his way into the corner, Camish with an absolute best first sector. Aaron Taylor-Smith has gone second quickest Pro 10 ahead of Sutton, Huff and Ingram, and the first flying lap from Camish is estimated to put him second. Look as he comes up towards the complex now. Little puff of tar smoke, lifts the wheel. The car loads up into the hairpin, where we've seen quite a few with a touch of understeer over the course of the session, and Camish also with a hint of understeer. Fights the car out of the hairpin to the timing line now, accelerates up towards the beam. Is he going to be in the 21s? He needs to be. He is. He goes second, 121.245. Here's Taylor-Smith.
Yeah, remember that last sequence of corners favours the rear-wheel drive cars with their traction and rotation out of the corners, whereas the middle section of the corner of the track certainly suits the front-wheel drive cars.
Turkington, Camish, Taylor-Smith, Sutton, Huff, Ingram is the order. But that might change in a moment, because here is Aaron Taylor-Smith coming up to the hairpin now. And again, he's got to be not only in the 21s, but to be quickest, the high 1-minute 20s up to the beam. He will go through now. Aaron Taylor-Smith, a 21.4, third quickest. So no improvement, in fact, on that lap for him. Ingram and Sutton are the next two to watch, see what they can pull out of the bag, because right now they're 5th and 6th, Sutton ahead of Ingram.
But we know that Ingram has got a 21.0 or a 21.1 in him, definitely, because we've seen it as he locks up the rear wheel, but does still hit the apex. He's right on the limit on this lap. What was that first sector? It was a personal best, but it wasn't the quickest we've seen. It wasn't purple, but watch him through this next section. He's so quick through here.
So there is Ingram coming then down now towards Croft and the Sunny approach. Another little puff of tar smoke. He's got Rob Huff behind him, who's also really charging. So 2 quick drivers here, heading up towards the timing line. They will be in a moment. There's the complex to go. This is Ingram, predicted to be second. And let's see what he can do about that Turkington time in terms of, if he is only second, how close can he get? He's run out of hybrids for this lap as Ingram. He's used it all. Coming up towards the timing line out of this corner. To his name, Tom Ingram has got 9 career pole positions. He comes up towards the line now, and for second, well, let's see. Sutton's had a lap time disallowed. Ingram goes third, so only third for Ingram. It's Turkington, Camish, Ingram, Taylor-Smith, Huff and Sutton. And into the last minute of the session now.
Yeah, 50 seconds on the clock to go, so anyone starting their lap it'll be their last lap. Let's go on board with Sutton. I think he's going down the back straight. Yes, he's braking for Tower. And we've seen his first section is not even a personal best, so I think he's had the best out of his tyres.
So remember, Ash Sutton's not had a pole position all year, and it's unlikely it's going to come now on his last lap with a slower first sector. So Ash Sutton looks as though it is going to be the third row of the grid for him as he comes into Sunny. And that car not looking all that compliant there, looking a real handful. He throws it in, he catches it, fights it out the other side of Sunny. And we've got nobody on this lap going quicker in sector 1, but Sutton has gone quicker in sector 2, but then he's got a bit of traffic up the road, gets past the BMW of Colin Turkington that looks as though it will give Colin a 29th career pole position. But in the meantime, what can Sutton do? Even if it's only one place gained on the grid, it's better than nothing, so he carries on charging up towards the line, heads to the beam, and Ash Sutton goes through now and stays 6th after all that.
Yeah, well, it didn't look like it was going to be an improvement that lap, did it? But I think he might have hoped for a little bit more. But you cannot take anything away from this man, Colin Turkington. He delivered an absolutely perfect lap, and he has pole position. It looks like it's going to pass all the scrutineering checks, ride height, and look at that smile. We saw the concentrating face, now we're seeing the smiling Colin Turkington.
Second pole position of the season, a 29th of his career, and it'll be a very happy Colin Turkington that will make his way down to the team in a moment once the car's gone through the technical checks, the weight assessed, the ride height checked as well. That's Rob Huff for 5th, and that puts him up near the front of the grid then going into that first race tomorrow. Racing at Croft can't start until 12 o'clock, so we'll be looking for our first race after 12 o'clock tomorrow. I think it's lights out at 10 minutes past 12, and Huff will be up on that third row of the grid with Ash Sutton alongside him. So Q3 topped by Colin Turkington for pole position, Dan Camish 2nd, Tom Ingram 3rd, Aaron Taylor-Smith 4th, Rob Huff 5th, and Ash Sutton rounding out the top 6. That is the order then at the end of the final part of qualifying. And in that one, no track limit dramas that we could be aware of. I think everybody behaved themselves as they should. The message got through. So there, Colin Turkington in the BMW. That is the car then that takes provisional pole position. And just half a second covering those 6 drivers that got themselves through into Q3. Turkington, Camish, Ingram, Taylor-Smith, Huff and Sutton being the order. Last couple of cars making their way to the pit lane. So
good effort by Camish, I thought, because he just got in, if you remember, just got through that second section to get in. But his times have improved in each run, and that's always a sign that a driver's delivering his max.
Colin Turkington, a happy man as he gets out of the car, a 3rd BMW pole of the year, his 2nd. And helmet will be off in a moment. All smiles, no doubt. So Colin Turkington with a job well done. Get some water from Dan Mayer, the championship coordinator.
Not just any water, pole position water.
Yes, indeed. So Colin Turkington steps forward, and greets Louise, a very happy wife. There's another Louise standing by as well. So Colin Turkington, 2nd pole position of the season, and off the smile on his face, Louise, this one really means something.
Yeah, we can tell. The guys are just saying this one really means something to you.
Yeah, it's I needed a good weekend, especially after Oulton Park. We lost a chunk of points, and Croft's sort of been my patch, so it's if anywhere you want to start the second half of the season, it's here. So to be honest, it was super difficult out there. The Q1, I was struggling. I was just fighting the car, and then each sort of Q2, Q3, we sort of got it tuned in a bit. But even Q3, it's sort of had to coach myself around, just not to overdrive, because it's so hard to get the car perfect in every corner at Croft, so particularly the last sector. Just had to almost drive at 95% and just sort of, hit all the dots, and the lap time came. So, it's a tricky old circuit to to find that perfect lap at. But Team BMW give me the car today, so I'm really pleased.
We were looking at some of your onboard, and Tim commented on the fact that the car, it looked like you for that final run, you got it in a really good position. It was just turning in beautifully and doing what you needed it to do.
Yeah, I think that's generally how it always looks from the outside. But as a driver, you're sort of you're preempting what's happening next. I can feel, okay, the rear's about to break away, so you're just within that. But on TV, it looks like I'm on rails. So certainly Q3. I got the front hooked up basically Q1 and Q2. I was just struggling a bit with the front end, and if you can't quite make the apex, then once you bring the throttle in, then you lose the back as well. So it's it's a double whammy. But just got the front hooked up, which really suits my driving style. So yeah, it's always great to get pole, especially here.
And the way that the qualifying works now, it doesn't suit in a way what's been your traditional style, which is build yourself up gradually, and ultimately as the session goes on, you've got to deliver a lap in each of the 3 sessions, haven't you?
There's no hanging around, and even even Q1, as you say, you got to go out, bang, set the time. You can't sort of drive at 90% and think that's good enough, because everybody's quick. So it's 3 quali sessions basically. So pressure's on, but it's nice when it comes together.
Pressure's on, you delivered. Well done, Colin. We look forward to seeing you out there at the front tomorrow, and we'll head round now and let's dive in with our second place finish. I'm just going to butt in and excuse me. Sorry, Spence, just diving in on your conversation with your engineer there. Tom, good result.
Very good result. Yeah, really, really good result. And coming into the weekend, I didn't really expect us to be fighting for pole. So to be lining up P3, it's great. Team Bristol Street Motors car is feeling absolutely phenomenal. Really, really good. And it's a joy to drive, it really, really is. And the cars like that, it's just ace. It feels really, really good. So I'm not disappointed in the slightest by P3. I'm obviously disappointed not to be pole, of course I am, but I can't look at that and go, oh no, we were screwed. But I made a slight mistake on my first flyer, which meant I had to take an extra build lap, unfortunately. Which is just one of those. There might have been some gravel down. It might have been the squidgy thing behind the wheel, quite probably. But I'll blame the gravel, and the wind was a southwesterly. It's now gone to a north-southerly, which is really weird. I don't know how it does that. Otherwise it would have been pole, Louise, you see. That's how it works.
Rubbish. Yeah. But you say you weren't expecting to be on pole. Why not? Just from a hybrid perspective, or just you didn't think this was going to be a circuit that suited your car so well?
No, not in the sense it's not going to suit the car, but in any shape. I knew that actually we were going to be really strong here from a chassis perspective, but I kind of just was aware of the hybrid situation that we had, and I've sort of said where we are. I honestly expected Ash to be pole because of where. He's the same hybrid as I had at Alton. I expected Ash to be pole, us to be then battling for sort of second and third. So, it's good in that perspective, but it's, the chassis wise, feels great. We're lacking a little bit of hybrid. You've got to start and end a lap with it. There's quite a few areas that makes a difference, but honestly, I cannot be disappointed. I will sleep very well tonight, knowing we've got a good car for tomorrow.
Good stuff. Well done. We'll see you out there tomorrow. And let's grab a word with the man who's going to be starting alongside Colin on the front row. Good result for you. You've got to be happy with that one.
Really happy with that one. If you'd have told me before this whole thing started you're going to be second, I would have snapped your hand off. I mean, we've pole here last year and really strong in terms of like how the car just came out the truck. Not that we've changed much today, but I think we're at that point of the season where we don't know all the time what tyre everyone's on. I was on quite well-used mediums all day, and you're looking at the timesheet going, is that a tyre? Is that just pure grip that we're going to bolt in and we can enjoy later in the day? And the team believed it was. I had to trust that that's the case, and we just chipped away. I think my first qualifying run in Q1, 21.7 or something. 5/10 off what I've just done, and nothing's changed but the bit in the middle, which is me. So, I've just edged, and over the last few rounds, we've had a good habit of kind of peaking when it really matters and delivering in the final part of Q, which I'm very proud of. And I said to the team, it's great that we have that. We're able to build as a team towards the penultimate moment. I think this sort of 3-stage qualifying is really suiting the way that this car wants to be driven at the moment with me in it. I don't quite have the ultimate pace out the box, but if we can chip, we can peak higher than some. So, yeah, it's been a good day.
We had a few scalps fell to the dreaded track limits. In fact, you in one of the earlier sessions lost your times. How much of a concern was that in that final run for the grid?
It was a bit of a shock actually, because I'd seen Dan fall foul, and I was so disappointed for him because that lap was amazing. You know, that's a pole position lap, or a very close to a pole position lap. I'm not quite sure what Colin's done, but I'm sure there wasn't much in it. He had a real good opportunity today, and that's a shame for Dan. But when I fell foul of it, I was like, I've not had one all day, so where's that? And it took them a while. I was really keen to, even into sort of Q2, still asking, have we got an update yet? Where is it? Because there's bits of track that I'm not using here, because I'm not entirely sure what I've just been done for. And they said, it was the S's, and you're thinking, it's kind of flat out, the S's. I don't know why that's, I don't remember being there, but I was like, right, at least I know the rest of the track is kind of fair game now. But yeah, you've got to be careful. We all know the rules. The grid's so tight. We're looking for milliseconds here, half a tenth there. You know, the nice thing about Q3, once you're there, is the pressure sort of drains away. The pressure's getting out of Q1. You know, you feel so tense getting out of it, and then it's like, then Q2 you get that same feeling, and by Q3 it's like, well, you know, I might as well throw caution to the wind now. It's either pole or bust. There's nothing in between, because worst that can happen is you're sick. So it's quite nice actually once you're to Q3. Actually, it's an enjoyable feeling to be qualifying in a fast car when the pressure's off.
Especially when you end up on the front row. Well done.
Yeah, well, I would say that one.
We'll see you out there tomorrow. Back to you guys.
Louise, thanks. Well done then to Tom Ingram third, Dan Camish second, and Colin Turkington a second pole position of the season. And at a very busy Croft, we look forward then to how that order is going to affect race 1. Well, we'll find out after 12 o'clock tomorrow. But we're going to be on air from 11:15 with all the build-up, with a look back at qualifying and with the thoughts of some of the drivers as well. On track tomorrow, not just 3 touring car races, plenty of Porsche action as well from both the Porsche Sprint Challenge and Carrera Cup GB and the Mini Challenge and the Pre-66 touring cars, 2 non-championship races to look forward to as well. Right, we'll see you at 11:15 tomorrow. For now though, from Louise Goodman, Tim Harvey and David Addison, it's goodbye from Croft.
Oh,